All right, guys, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome to another episode of Smash Times Lead Therapy. I think this is number 70. We got a really, really cool guest. Um, man, we'll go into it how I met him. But man, I saw him across the SHOT Show hall and I go, I got to meet this guy. Because when I watched his first video, I almost peed myself laughing. It was that good. So without further ado, let's bring in Sean from Pew Pew Tactical.
How are you, sir?
What's going on, man? Hey, thank you so much for taking time out to come hang out with us. And I'm sure everyone's going to really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. After seeing Cameron and Josiah on here, that's got to be a tough act to follow.
Well, Josiah is funny. Seeing him run around SHOT Show, pulled in 1,000 different directions. I mean, I feel bad for him, but then I'm waiting in line with everyone else trying to get his attention too. So
yeah.
Let's check the chat really quick. I try and not ignore the chat. It's really hard though. So let's see. We have Increw, Lucky Dog, Gort, Jesus, and Increw already with the compliment. Pew Pew is a great source of info, especially helps a newbie like me.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got to tell you, we'll get into that later, but I think YouTube is really critical in getting a lot of new shooters into shooting. So we'll get in the weeds. So everybody in the chat, I first was cruising around YouTube, getting ready for SHOT Show, and I'm seeing, is anybody talking about it? And I get this YouTube short come up on how to prepare for SHOT Show, and it's this guy, this fat guy working out, and then he's on a treadmill, and then he's dodging those stupid baskets, and which I've come to hate. I hate those guys.
Yeah.
And that was so well done. And at the end, when you just had the sledgehammer in your hand, I was crying. I was laughing so hard. And my wife comes in. She goes, "What are you retarded? What are you doing in here?" It's like, and then I showed her the video. She goes, "I don't get it." I'm like, "You just don't get it.
Yeah.
Just don't get it." Yeah. So was that your brainchild?
Yes. I've been to SHOT Show several times now. And so I knew what to expect. And being thrust into the role of being responsible for video content creation, it's been fun because I have this head full of media and of all the things that I've seen and experienced, and that target audience for that particular video, that was you, man. If you've been to SHOT Show, anybody that's been to SHOT Show, they would know those experiences, and they would know that I was singing the truth.
So, well, it's funny because one of my mentors in the industry is Dan, the firearm guy. I love that guy. Great channel, good dude. And he was always telling me last year was my first shot. Mm-hmm. So he goes, "Oh, it was you don't know what SHOT Show is really like, because usually you have 100 of these hover rounds driving around. You have all the basket people just shoving stuff in their baskets with no shame. They grab handfuls of everything.
Yeah.
Hats, forget it. They just take everything. No shame at all." And I actually tripped over a few of them this year. And I remember your video and I was just cracking up. I wasn't even mad. I was like, so this is what it's like.
Yeah, that's the experience, man. While I'll say, yes, it was my brainchild, the most important part of the team there is Johnny Fantastic. He's our videographer at Pew Pew Tactical. And man, that dude is talented. He can take rough ideas that I have, like, oh, I want to do this, or we got to make sure that we put this in. And unfortunately, based upon the format that we're looking at, there's a couple of things that go into it. One, it's short form, right? So it has to be a minute or less. And that is hard. We filmed 3 of everything. 3 of the drinking scenes, 3 of the cart scenes, 3 of the patch scenes, 3 of the handshaking scenes. I mean, all of those things. And then he had to take all of that and cut it down to a minute or less, plug in music, sound effects, and make it all cohesive. So that dude he's so talented. I'm very lucky to work with him.
I tell you, the Macho Man impersonation, I was dying because I grew up. I'm 45, so I grew up Macho Man. I mean,
Yeah.
Jake the Snake. I mean, the Bushwhack Bill. I mean, I all those guys. I
Yep.
loved all of them.
Same.
And the cream rises to the top. That is the best.
Yeah.
If you guys
Yeah.
don't know, I'll post a link. I'll find it and I'll post a link in the description of this video later on. So let's check the chat one more quick time. Felicia is in here. How you doing, Felicia? It's always good to see you. Fluffy, Lucky. Let's see. Walker's Customs. What's going on? I try and stay up with the chat as much as I can, but it's tough. It's
Right.
tough. All right. So, tell everybody a little bit about Pew Pew Tactical because it's just not a website. I mean, it's just not like a YouTube. It's a website. It's actually a very well done website.
Thank you. Yeah. This is so easy. This is one of the best parts of my job is bragging about Pew Pew Tactical because I didn't build it. I didn't have anything to do with it. I just kind of came in lately. So it was started by Eric Hung several years ago. And Eric, interestingly, has a much different story than a lot of folks in the firearms world. Uh, he wasn't raised around guns, that wasn't part of his family. And he ended up getting interested in them
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really have any good resources to go to say, hey, how do I do this? Or what ammo do I use for this firearm? Or what's a good firearm? Just some of the like most basic questions if you're a complete newbie. And the firearms industry doesn't always do a good job of being welcoming. We have a lot of gatekeepers who are sometimes condescending, who sometimes treat you poorly because you don't know everything already. And that's stupid. That's just so ridiculous. So Eric started having friends ask him questions, and he had this aha moment. He was like, you know, I can provide information and I barely know just a little bit. So if I delve into this, if I learn even more, I could become a resource and I could provide that information to people in a non-condescending way and help them to see what they need to learn without being judgmental for their lack of knowledge, without being overly serious, without being super tactical. And he created the website. He created Pew Pew Tactical, and the blog started off. They went full time with it in 2018, and I started writing for them as a freelance writer back then. I was still working my other job at the time, and it's just grown since then. So the blog is the main source of our content, but we also, of course, have Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all of the supporting social channels
Right.
that, and we have at any one point in time around 2,000 articles or more providing information on an enormous amount of topics in the firearms realm, particularly as it pertains to firearms and accessories related to firearms.
Yeah. So when I was on your YouTube a few weeks ago after I saw that video, I'm like, let's check this guy out. And I thought it was going to be like a link tree, pewpewtactical.com. And I got on there. I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of information, lots of very well written articles. The pictures are fantastic. The videos, you notice a huge jump from like say when Johnny B started out years ago to where it is now. I mean, the video every year seems to get progressively better and better and better, especially like the last 7 or 8 months. Those videos are fantastic. So I don't know if you guys switch it up, someone buy a red camera or what's going on over there, but it's really nice. Very
Thanks.
good video production. You tell
Appreciate
that
it.
guy I said he's doing a great job, a bang up job.
Yeah, that's Johnny Fantastic, man. Absolutely. Pew Pew had a pretty major change. We had a guy named John that was doing the bulk of our videos, and he did a great job. But when the company recently relocated from California out to Texas, John couldn't make that jump. And so several of us moved to Texas, including Johnny Fantastic. And so my role changed. I originally signed on full time to do business development, and they were like, we need you to do some video. So I started doing some video, and it just kind of progressed. And Johnny Fantastic and I really gel well together, and we put some fun stuff together. And amazingly, I'm at an age in my life. I'm middle aged, certainly, if not over, and I'm finally enjoying what I do for a living, having fun. It's not taking years off of my life, and I'm loving it, man. It's great. But that was the main impetus behind the changes that you're seeing. Is we have a lot of good contributors, but Johnny
Nice.
and I being pulled together in Texas is kind of what's
What
going
part
on.
of Texas did you guys move to?
Austin.
Ah, that's a very fun part of Texas.
Yep. Yep.
I like Austin quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really a cool vibe here, and I came from Colorado, and you'll hear that a lot of people, particularly a lot of Texans, will not claim Austin as part of Texas because it is kind of a
It's weird.
yeah, it's weird, and it's a liberal bastion in Texas. But coming from Colorado, that wasn't a big change for me because we're used to things being very purple. There's pot smoking hippies and actual working cowboys walking side by side down the street together in Colorado, and that's normal. So
Yeah.
Austin wasn't a big change for us.
So when I moved to Texas many years ago, I remember going from LA, Los Angeles, all the way to Houston. I lived for 2 years and I got a sales job. Now, my first trip to Austin, I parked to get something to eat, and there's 4 Priuses in one parking lot. And I go, Jesus, God, I left all this behind. Everyone's walking around in sandals like they're going to the beach. I go, there's no beach, guys. There's no
Yeah,
beach.
yeah,
Bunch of hippies.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But I just thought it was a fun flashback. And I was like, man, get me out of here.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, at least with Austin, it's liberal to a degree. Certainly, there's a lot more support of that, but there's a lot of gun support here too, still.
Well, I
Uh,
think Austin's more old school liberal.
yeah,
Like, a true liberal believes in absolute free speech, hippies, love, peace, and all that harmony. Today's left wing is left,
yeah,
left wing.
yeah,
Like, it's so far left. You can't. I have relatives that just won't even talk to me anymore. It's crazy.
right,
It is crazy.
yeah,
So, how long
yeah.
have you been with Pew Pew?
So since 2018, I was writing freelance, and then just last year, so it's been a little bit over a year now. I came on full time after I retired.
Nice, nice. And were you always? This is a question I ask everybody. Were you raised with guns all the time, or you kind of got into it later, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, let's see. I had an interesting upbringing. Grew up in Southeast Missouri and Northeast Arkansas, and at least until I was 14, and then it was Colorado pretty much after that. But in the most of the year, I would spend time in the city, and then I would go down to Arkansas in the summertime, where my grandparents had a working farm. So I had a little bit of both, the urban life and the rural life, and it was down there that I got introduced to firearms. And my father's family hunted and fished and had a lot of that outdoor life. So my mother's family, in fact. So I got exposed to firearms. It wasn't a huge part of my life, but after I got into law enforcement, that's when things kind of picked up significantly.
Oh, nice. So, how long were you a police officer?
I was in law enforcement for 22 and a half years. I did about 15 years at a sheriff's office, and then I finished off another 7.5 at a district attorney's office as an investigator.
I tell you what, people give LA a bad rap, and I grew up in the Carson Compton area, and we had Carson sheriffs, and even growing up back in the late 80s, 90s, if they caught you with any kind of weed, they would just throw it out. They're there to catch real criminals. They're not going to, they are, the Carson sheriffs were the coolest cops ever. The
Mhm.
LAPD, forget it. Like, you remember the whole Rampart thing?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
forget all those guys. You get,
yeah,
and highway patrol is by the book, man. If highway patrol pulls you over, you're getting a ticket.
yep,
Sheriffs, They're like, "Hey, man, can you just knock that off? Can you stop doing that?" They're so laid back. Like, we want to catch real crooks. We're not doing all this paperwork bullshit.
Right.
Yeah. Big ups to Carson Sheriffs. They did write me a lot of tickets, though. I had one of those 90s rice rockets.
Okay. Okay.
So I remember
Yeah.
I got 7 citations in one night by one cop on a.
So we might have something in common there. I lost my license at a pretty young age, had a lot of interactions with law enforcement, and that's probably one of the things that kind of brought me into the fold, so to speak. More of a if you can't beat them, join them type situation.
Yeah, right. All right, let's check the chassis. OG Tank says we look related. Thank you. Hey, bald is beautiful, baby. Don't hate. In Crew says Plano's nice. Yeah, I do like Dallas, Plano area. Jesus says, "Do you have any more information on the ad to add to the review of that Smith & Wesson M&P 9 2.0 steel frame you guys did?"
Yeah, I love that gun. It's kind of interesting because the way it works with publications in the 2A space is we will get guns sent to us from companies, and at the end of our review, we have a choice typically. We can either send it back to the company or we can buy it at a discounted price. And that's representative of the fact that it is now a used firearm. And if you spend any time looking at our channel, you'll see that things don't always go like you might expect, and the guns aren't always pristine when they come back. So it represents that used discounted price. But I get exposed to a lot of firearms, and I don't buy that many guns anymore. But I'm buying that gun. It is really good. I was really impressed with
I never send them back.
Never. I hear you, man. I hear you.
Because I'm still new. So my safe is just starting to get tactical Tetris where I gotta now the door almost doesn't shut, so now I gotta be picky. But remember Ruger sent me a gun. They're like, well, you could buy it or send it back. I'm like, I ain't sending nothing back.
Yeah.
No,
No,
Springfield.
I don't blame you, man. I've been there, and I love it. I love what I do. But it's getting to a point, where you're 3 safes in, and you really start thinking about how many of this you've got or how many of that, and something really has to perform or hit some critical button before you really, after a while, it's like, yeah, I don't want to let that go. That's a really nice firearm.
I did something at SHOT Show this year I thought I would never do. I actually turned down a gun.
Oh.
Someone wanted to send me an AR, and I'm like, not if at a discounted rate. I'm like, I got so many.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, because
you get there. You get there.
Well, you get there because hey, it's your time and energy, and I spend an AR is a couple hundred rounds, maybe 400 or 500 rounds, easy. Because I try and do a 10 mag test where I really kind of heat it up a little bit. Pistols, same thing, 9mm. You got to shoot at least 10, 15 magazines, and then if you're filming it, you gotta. What if you mess up your shot? You don't get the right angle. You got to do it over and over again, and your time, energy, and money. I don't know about Pew Pew Tactical, but for me, just being an independent one truck Chuck kind of guy, it cost me several $100s for each review.
Yep.
I hope my wife is not listening to this right
Oh man, look, I feel that because I did the freelance thing for so long that like since 2014, it was a challenge to not get upside down on reviews. Sure, you get a discount if you ended up purchasing that firearm, but God, by the time you spent your range fees, your travel, whatever,
editing,
yeah, I mean all that
equipment.
time put into it. Yeah, it's hard not to get upside down just writing a review for a publication.
Honey Bunches says, love this guy. He is hilarious genius. Great videos and shorts will bring some laughter to your day with important info and everything. Pew pew. That is true. That is very true. Because I've laughed my butt off at a few of these things now. Let's see. We got OG Tank. Gort is in the chat. Me, the people. What's up, buddy? Putano. I like that name. I mean, he must follow you guys. Let's see. Dating. Guys, real quick, if you are not a subscriber to the Pew Pew Tactical channel, I'm going to post a link in there. Please open up a separate window, subscribe to this channel real quick. You will not regret it. I'm sure he'd very much appreciate it, and I would appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to me, please subscribe to me too.
There you go.
That's always nice.
Hit that like and subscribe.
Pistol Pete, I know it. I know it. So, so you weren't really raised with guns. Now, has Pew Pew Tactical been under attack? Because I know that you kind of blurred out a few things, but I got one strike. And have you guys been? It's rough, man. It's rough out there.
So yeah, I mean, it depends on what time frame you're talking about. We're constantly navigating a changing landscape, right? The social media gods that we are beholden to in order to provide our information. It's tough. We ended up getting our Facebook completely shut down at one point, which, Facebook, it's like, but that was a setback. We had to build it back up, start over again, and fire it up. The interesting thing is, more recently, we saw other people getting strikes. We're always, we got tentacles out there feeling what's going on in the industry, and particularly in our space. And we basically deployed the team to go through and interpret what was coming out, what was the new landscape, what are the new rules, and then go through and edit our content. And when we were hearing that we had someone telling us that no insertion of 30-round magazines, no unthreading or threading of suppressors, we started going through our content and trying to break that down. And as you know, I mean, as a content creator, you have a catalog. I mean, you have a whole library of stuff that's out there. So it was kind of an all hands on deck situation.
Yeah.
We went through and just started editing everything. And the blur tool for YouTube sucks.
Yes, it does.
It is unresponsive. It is laggy. It has all kinds of glitches.
Everything looks like a terrible Asian porno. You're like, what is going on? It's
Yes.
terrible. Well, I tell you what, I don't have 30-round magazines anymore because I just picked up. Well, I'm picking up tomorrow. I'm picking up 29-round stickers, and I'm putting them on all my magazines. It says 29.
Hey, man. Yeah.
29
That's the
rounds.
pivot. That's the pivot. And we have to adapt to that to figure out what we got to do. We are not monetized, so that isn't necessarily an issue for us. That flew out the window years ago. But we do and are, of course, concerned about reaching our audience, and we want to continue to grow our audience. So
right.
So we're at that place where freedom of speech is one thing, but this is an agreement between two parties, and YouTube sets the rules, and that's what it is. So we either adhere to those rules or we move on to something else.
Yeah, I always keep my stuff pretty clean, and thank God I really need to get into the whole suppressor stuff until recently. I just bought one, and I have my trust set up, so now I don't know what to do with that.
Good for you.
But it was interesting because some channels were completely left alone.
Yeah.
And some were just attacked mercilessly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like T-Rex Arms. I don't think they had anything, no strikes, nothing. And all they do is take guns together and put them together. I love that channel. Shout out to T-Rex Arms. Great channel. Yeah. And then like Coleon Noir, he has a lot of suppressor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything from them. And maybe it's because they have reps. I think after 100,000, you get a rep. But I think they upped that to 500,000 lately.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 300,000, and we don't have a rep, so we're not familiar with that process. And even the people that like Mike from Guns and Gear, some other folks that we know that do have reps, they're not. They don't pull the curtain back on that too much, that relationship, because again, we're all kind of beholden to YouTube until we figure out something else.
Well, Mike, actually, it's funny you mentioned him. He just released that video today where they were talking about he had a meeting with his rep with a few other people. I think Demo Ranch and all them were at a big conference call. And he says moving forward, it's back to business as usual, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? All I know is I got 29 round magazines because it says 29 rounds. And
That's it,
I don't
man.
have any suppressor stuff now. So
Yeah.
who knows, man? It's crazy. It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I'm gonna post a link to your channel. Pew Pew Tactical is really funny. God, your stuff is so funny.
Awesome. Thanks,
Take
man.
credit for all those jokes because they are great. Just say, hey man, that's all me. Say I film it too.
I I do come up with the majority of the ideas, but what ends up happening is I'll say, hey, it would be cool if we did X, Y, Z. And then while Johnny's filming it, he'll say, oh, but if we added this or if we did that. And so it's completely collaborative. I mean, yeah, there is some effort on my part to put the general skeleton together, the outline, if you
right.
will. But man, the two of us get together and it's magic, dude. It's so much fun.
It's a party.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
sorry, I was trying not to die. So is Johnny B still doing stuff with Pew Pew?
Yeah, he is. He is still associated with us, but hasn't put anything together in a while. That's not. We have at least one project that he's been waiting on to get the firearm, and
Okay.
that is a situation that is a logistical issue, more of a supply issue. One company, and of course you are familiar with non-disclosure agreements, so I can't say a whole lot, but a company has a product that they're trying to come out with. That company is not being supplied a critical component to that product that they are trying to come out with, so they can't release it. So we can't get it to Johnny V to review. So it's hurry up and wait, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Oh, that's a bummer. Let's see. Me the People says he's already subbed. In crew, does Pew Pew have a YouTube rep? No, we joked about that. Gort, Texas Gun Vault channel got terminated. That sucks. Gort, I would check because I heard yesterday a few channels were brought back.
Oh, that's good.
And Kit Badger is actually back too, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that one was brought back. I mean, God, I hate saying that. Don't hold that. I'm just guessing, folks, but I heard they brought him back too. I think I saw Instagram blurb was welcome back.
Yeah, and I heard that Recoil was hosting his stuff too. So
yeah, I like Kit Badger. That was a good channel. Mark says he's been subscribed. He loves your channel.
thank you, Mark.
Evan Smith says, I'm still behind the Iron Curtain here in Colorado. How is the 3-gun scene in Texas? It's alive and well.
Man, yeah, it's off the hook. Almost anything firearms related is kind of crazy down here. One big thing that I will tell you that's very different about Colorado and Texas is there is not a lot of BLM out here. In Colorado, there's public land all over the place. So if you want to responsibly discharge your firearm, you can go out to a public land place, and as long as you're doing that in a safe manner, man, go for it. There's no no law that will prevent you from doing that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Down here in Texas, it's a lot of private land, and so
Right.
ranges are kind of far flung. They're out away from the city centers, and it's a little bit tougher to get to. And you also have to have memberships. That's another limitation that you run into. But yeah, man, the firearm scene is wild down here.
Yeah, I drove up to film some content with Dan, the farm guy up in Michigan, and he goes, it's funny. He actually kind of talks normally like Macho Man. I hope he doesn't listen to this. That's actually how I found his channel. I was listening to YouTube on a loop. There's video after video after video, and then I was like, "Oh, here's this gun." I'm like, "Is Macho Man doing gun reviews now?" So I've watched his stuff. That was 2 years ago, and so we're up in Michigan, and they have a public land where it's the gun range is taken care of by the state. So they go out there every couple months and with earth movers and move berms around and you just park and set up your targets and shoot, and there's no fee, nothing.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
nice.
No, that's awesome. And that's a good way to do it. When public land access starts to get limited, it makes it tougher for a lot of activities. Firearms is one of them that's going to suffer that. But in Colorado, man, they do such a great job of keeping the public lands available to folks. And it's just a different scene down here in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky I can go to a pretty nice outdoor range, but it's an hour from my house.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, it's pretty much private land. If you got private land, which I'm looking to, man, if this YouTube thing ever takes off, I'm gonna get some land because I I would love just to go out all day by myself and shoot. Not that I'm antisocial, folks. It's just that I'm antisocial.
Oh, it's all good. Hey, I want to skip ahead to a comment here from Evan Smith. Brother, I shot at Pawnee all the time. I lived in Fort Collins, and that was my go-to. In fact, I had a membership out at the Pawnee Sportsman Center, and I did a lot of reviews out there.
Oh man, Pawnee, why is that so familiar?
It's a huge grassland, and I think Pawnee is a word that means never-ending wind because all the time that
Well, I know there's Indians of Pawnee.
oh yeah, yeah. I used to have hair, and spending time out at Pawnee, gone, man. It's a really cool range out there. But there's also a public land side that I think Evan's probably talking about, where you, like you said, you can just go out, set up your target, and just let it rip.
Man, that is the best.
Yeah.
I wish. I really wish I could do that. God, it would be nice. So you recently did a review on the Gerson, what was it? The MCP35 optics ready. God, it's such a mouthful, man. Now, honestly, did you like that sight that came with it?
No, no, no. I mean,
It's
it feels
terrible.
like a budget European optic.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but it's also probably not the worst either. I mean, there are a lot of super budget options out there that, um, and that's definitely one.
Yeah, I took that one off, put a Crimson Trace on it. And Crimson Trace isn't exactly high dollar either, but it was leaps and bounds above that one.
Yeah,
And I've never shot a high power before, so a clone was just new to me.
right.
I've since shot a clone and a high power, and I would take the Gerson over that. It's just too old school for me, I guess.
Yeah,
I thought that Gerson was a really nice one, but you had mentioned something in there where you're like, your group was kind of all over the place. You're like, man, I'm not used to shooting iron sights anymore, and I'm doing the same thing. When I
right.
have irons, terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to go back to that because you when you make that transition, if you commit fully, and particularly if you spend any kind of time doing it religiously, like for work or something like that, then it gets built in, and your head starts moving away from those irons. So you can go back to it, but it's always a transition. It's not dissimilar from shooting a bunch of striker fired guns and then suddenly going back to a hammer fired gun.
Right, right. But man, I had that realization a few weeks ago. Me and the wife went to go shoot and like a date night, and then she shoots a Ruger Max 9, which you also reviewed, and I love that gun.
Yeah,
And I took it out, and I'm like, I couldn't. My group, I used to do. Sorry about that, folks. I used to do groups like this, and it was pretty bad.
yeah.
It takes a little bit of practice to get back into the whole iron sight
It
thing.
does, man. It does. It's those minor inputs that you don't necessarily think about make a bigger difference when you have to line up irons. So it definitely makes a difference.
Now your Max 9 it had a hollow sun on it, right?
I believe so.
And did you like that gun? That gun gets a lot of hate for no reason. People, oh, that gun sucks. I'm like, I thought it was great.
Um, I love Ruger in general. I feel like they are one of the unsung heroes of the firearms industry. They offer a very good quality product for a low price. and that's amazing. There's brands out there that offer maybe a lot more for a much higher price. But if you think about the average person who doesn't have $5,000 of disposable income that can go out and buy this rifle and this scope and this bipod and whatever, Ruger is representative of the everyday man, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, their stuff is not terribly expensive at all, but I like the Max 9. I thought it was great. You also did their Precision 22. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, folks. I think we lost him. Anyway, this is the intermission. We'll just play a little bit of music right now. Da-na-na-na-na. Let's check the chat. C6 Ladez is in the chat. What's going on, bud? Lucky Dog and Me the People. Haven't switched to red dot pistols yet, but my eyes can't see too far. I'm thinking about doing it. Just do it. And back in action. What happened?
I don't know, man.
You're like, you know what? It's that time.
Dropped out.
Yeah, that's funny. Let's see. Stephen Charles, did you get a Cost 21 yet?
No,
Those are
haven't
pretty
seen
sweet.
that one yet. I know that we do have the new Canic coming in, and we have a couple of new Canics coming in, I think. And then we have the DWX from CZ. That's also coming in. Our junior editor, Wyatt, is going to be reviewing that. So
no optics on that.
it's okay, man. It's okay. That is a sweet gun.
It is pretty nice.
By the booth and check that out at SHOT Show, and man, that feels good. I'm sure that's going to shoot like nobody's business.
CZ is so underrated. Like whoever decided in their marketing to just, hey, you know what? Let's just paint all our grips crazy colors.
Yeah,
it really draws a lot of attention. And when they started doing that, that's when I discovered them. I have a friend that bought a parrot, and I'm like, what's this parrot thing?
mm-hmm.
It looks ridiculous, but it shoots so nice.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I'm hooked. I'm a CZ fanboy.
Yeah,
hands down. I love them.
They are good, super good.
Let's see, what else do you guys have coming in?
Oh man, it is a continual stream. The next two projects that we're working on are going to be the Glock 47,
okay,
and the Beretta A300 Ultima Patrol.
Very nice. Stephen Charles says, "Welcome from New York." Oh man, that's you want to talk about behind enemy lines.
New York.
New York, yeah. Me the people, so you gonna dance for us? No, I'm sorry, it's not that kind of show. My OnlyFans, you can log in later. Except mine's different. They pay me
early. Yeah,
they pay me to keep my clothes on. They're like, I donate. Just don't. I don't want to see it. Oh, what do you think about Staccato?
Love them.
They are pretty nice. I don't like the price, but I love the gun.
Expensive, certainly, but we've had, of course, being here in Austin, Staccato is located in Georgetown, which is just north of us, and we've had the occasion to try out the Staccato P and their most recent release, the CS, and they are just outstanding firearms. Toward the end of my career, I was a post-certified firearms instructor. So I taught at the DA's office and taught at the local police academy. And I saw the effects that a lot of striker-fired guns can have on new shooters. And if they're not taught through those things, they can have training scars where you'll see the low left based on anticipation and some other issues because it's a striker fired gun. And if you don't spend a lot of time with those kind of students, working them through the independent motion and using words like press instead of squeeze, where we get that sympathetic, where all of the fingers try to squeeze, and then that causes your gun to do. You nod your head, you know what I'm talking about. But staccato, I know it's expensive. But you put that in your hand, and I'm an old D&D nerd. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, and it's like a plus 20 accuracy.
God, I knew
Right.
I liked you.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick it up and point it and press that trigger and just boom. It can make better shooters out of people. It's like a cheat code in
It
a lot.
is. That's like the higher end CZs, like the TS2 or something like that. It will make you a better shooter. And I see a lot of people, and God, I love everybody in the chat, but I guarantee you there's two in the chat right now that have a safe full of $500 guns that say they can't afford one $5,000 gun or even a $3,000 gun. They
Yeah,
have they got a collection of Glocks. They never shoot. They got a collection of all these guns,
yeah,
like 40 pistols, and I'll never pay over $2,000 for a gun. I'm like, well, you should. I think
yeah.
everyone should have one race gun. Me, I have a Masterpiece Arms DS9, and
Oh,
that thing is indescribable.
yeah.
I put it one click above staccato, and yeah, that's just my favorite gun, man. I love
Right,
it. I absolutely love it.
man.
I had the opportunity to shoot at Atlas Athena. That thing's pretty sweet too. God,
If we're going above, uh, I recently had occasion to fire a 1911 crafted by, or was it 2011? It might have been a 2011, crafted by Hayes Custom. Hayes is one of the oldest firearms companies in the U.S. that have consistently made 1911 and related products, and they're super custom. We're talking $10,000 to $14,000 for a base gun. They're like super competition related, but I picked it up. I put it in my hand. I was out at the Texas Shooting Academy, which is a place that we film at quite a bit, and I'm still rattled from that experience. I mean, it was an impressive firearm, and granted, if you did a review on a firearm like that, a lot of the comments would be howling at the price, and
yeah,
I get it. I totally understand, but then again, this is the difference between an F-150 and maybe a Maserati or something like that. It's just one of those rare, exquisite firearms that is just amazing. I pulled it out and I hit 100 yards steel plate piece of cake, just like nothing.
all right. Steven Charles says Michael Saint 21 has issues. And I tell you what, I know Greg pretty well, the owner. It's a lifetime warranty, Steven. Doesn't matter how many times it changes hands. If it's a Cossaint 21, send it back.
There you go.
They'll jazz it up for you. I mean, not a lot of people give lifetime warranties on their guns. And I will tell you, when he first started, some things were handled out, not in house. That's why he brought everything in house to clean up the quality.
There you go.
There's some stinkers out there, that's for sure. But he'll probably take care of you. Definitely reach out to him. I found a CZ82 surplus from the 80s recently. Me the people. Nice.
Cool.
Evan Smith. Did CZ have anything good at SHOT Show? I have the Shadow 2 orange with a Seymour red dot. It's fantastic. God, that's such a great gun.
Yeah, I put my hand on that. The new version of the orange that they had at SHOT, and then also it was the TS2, and then the DWX. Just super impressive firearms.
I heard they stopped making the green grip. I have the TS2. I have the green one. Man, that's really upsetting. I love that green. I asked them, "Where's the green one?" They're like, "Oh, we discontinued it." Sons of guns, not cool, man. Pistol Pete says TS2 orange, and I see CZ switching the S2 to a bull barrel. Oh, nice.
Very cool.
Steven says, "Are you guys on any forums? 1911 Addicts, HK, etc."
I'm not personally. No. I find that I spend enough time between social media, video production, and writing articles.
Yeah, I don't have time personally. I just do YouTube part-time, full-time job, and then I got to spend time with the kids at least once a month.
Yeah, yeah. If your family's not hating you, you're doing all right, man.
Yeah, my family's very understanding. Thank God. Knock on wood.
Right.
We got Randy Adams, my main guy. Putano says, once you break the $1,500 price point, it becomes easier to spend in your mind, in your head. Yeah. Rock Island is underrated. I just ordered the 45 double stack Rock Island. I think it's
Oh, very
13
cool.
plus one.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be heavy as a cement brick, but I can't wait to shoot it.
Yeah.
Steven says, Greg is awesome. I have serial number 11. Well, that's why. You have number 11 of anything, you're going to have issues. You don't buy the first year of a car either. All those people that bought the C8 right away, a little bit of issues with leaking and whatnot, but yeah. Now, there was one Ruger. Now, I love Ruger. Ruger's very good to me. They've been really nice. They were the first company to let me review some of their stuff. But that LC carbine, man, I just wasn't feeling the controls on it. It just was real wonky to me.
Oh, it's interesting because I enjoyed it. I really liked that gun, and I was perhaps more enamored with the idea of being able to switch between the pistol and the carbine with the same magazine. That harkens back to the old cowboy days of being able to cartridge swap and having a magazine that goes between two guns.
Very cool.
It was very cool, but yeah, I could see ergonomics being a challenge for some folks.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, a little bit for me. But what's funny? So I was at the gun range. My son's 10, so he goes, "Can I shoot this gun? Knock yourself out." I go in to get a soda. I start chatting with the guy. Come back. He's 4 boxes in, just loading the mag, shooting. I'm like, "Damn, son, you just spent like $200."
A 5.7 adds up quick.
And he's out there loading and shooting as fast as he can. I'm like, God.
Yeah.
And I didn't get none of it on film. So
yeah,
bummer.
Yeah.
Bummer. My bad. What did you think about the full size Ruger? Did you have the 308, the Ruger Precision?
Yeah, I have one. In fact, I reviewed that. That was my first review for Gun World magazine. I wrote for the print side for a while, and I friggin' love that gun. It was outstanding. I think for the price, for all the features that you get, it was really good.
It's so cool. That's a great rifle.
Yeah.
Fluffy says, I picked up the Ruger Safar 20 a few Saturdays ago. Very nice. Man, that would be something. I really would like that gun. I can't afford another gun right now. I can't afford it, man.
Yeah, that is in our stack. We do have that in our list of approved projects, so we will be reviewing that at some point in the future.
Nice. Well, let's talk a little bit more about SHOT Show. Now, you said you've been to 5 or 6 now?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Now, when my very first SHOT Show last year, I don't remember who I sat next to, but he was a print guy. And he was very chatty until I told him I did YouTube. Then he was like, "Man." So is there still like a little bit of animosity, you think, between the print guys and then because this guy was so chatty, so nice. And then I go, he was like, nice guy. And I go, oh, you're YouTube. And he's like, oh, YouTube, huh? And he just kind of turned.
Yeah, no, and you know what? It still happens today. Like, if you go to an event, if it's a big enough event, and you have a company like Mossberg. I went to an event with Mossberg recently out at Gunsight, and there were people from the print side, and there were people from the digital writing side, and there were YouTubers. And it's interesting because the disdain or the animosity that's perceived a lot of times is, I don't think it's so much of an industry thing. I think it's a human nature thing. And what happens is, it's like the generations, right? Well, your generation is crap, my generation is crap, and all the generations are crap. This new generation coming up,
that music, who listens to that hip hop bebop music?
Right. That's not music. And the thing is, if you spend enough time and you talk with folks, I'm fortunate because I've done some print work, I've done some digital, and now I'm doing YouTube. Like, that's my main focus. So So I can kind of swim between the aisles and interface with different people, and I get along with pretty much anybody, man. But yeah, there is some of that is perceived at events, and it's more I think about folks just kind of grouping up together, like if you're at an event and there's some other YouTubers there, you'll feel comfortable with them because they share your human experience. You know, you can at least relate to them on different issues.
Right.
Whereas the print guys don't know really anything about YouTube, and they kind of come from a different world. And if they haven't bridged that gap, then they don't necessarily understand. And there is a little bit of animosity because you're going to be at an event, you guys are going to get the same notes, the same impressions, maybe the same ideas, and you're going to go home and your product will be out in 5 to 10 days, depending on your editing and how hard you want to push yourself. And his will probably be a month from now, maybe two.
Oh,
They
wow.
have to go through editors. They have to polish their photographs, submit them. That goes into the publication. It has to go into layout. And a layout designer, which is an artist of their own, will sit there and say, "Oh, I like this section of print with this photo," and then boom, 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 and there's several steps in the process. And then when it's finally approved, everything goes back to the editor, and they're like, "Yeah, I like this. This looks great." Then they send it off to print, and print takes it and then they put it into a proof, send it back. Okay, yes, 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 this looks good. Oh, wait, wait, wait. We have one correction. We have to send it. And then, okay, now run it and then send it out. And so maybe 2, 3 months down the road, you've got a print article. And I got to tell you, there's nothing cooler than going to a store, even a grocery store, a bookstore, and picking up a physical magazine and opening a page and seeing, a two-page spread of your photo or your document in there. But
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
it's old. It's an older medium, and so that's going the way of the dodo slowly. But getting back to the issue of the animosity there, those people have that experience, and so you'll see them kind of grouping up together. They don't necessarily hang out with the YouTuber because they're usually younger and they may not necessarily get the whole print thing. And
I love it, man. I really dig it. Do you subscribe to any magazines now?
I don't.
I only subscribe to the Armory Life.
There you go.
I like it. The pictures are always amazing. And you're right. They're about a month behind new releases, but man, it's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all Springfield, so I love it. And look,
Yeah.
I'm completely biased. I love Springfield. I love Ruger. I'm not a huge fan of Glock, but that's because what you said earlier about people when they first get in, sometimes they run into someone that puts a bad taste. The very first gun store I ever went to, this guy was like, I wanted an XD40 because I thought it's between a 9 and a 45. It must be the best caliber.
Mhm.
I didn't know any better. And he goes, "That's junk. You want this Glock, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, forget you. You just lost a sale." And the next 3 or 4 Glock people I ran into were like, "Glock perfection." Da, 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 da. I was like, "Ah, you
Yeah.
guys are nuts."
Yeah.
I appreciate them, but I'm not in love with them.
Right. Right. No, I get that. It's unfortunate. Like I said, when I mentioned gatekeepers, there are so many very fine gun store workers that are out there um, doing a great job of introducing people to our world and bringing them in and making good recommendations. But it's like any profession. It's especially law enforcement, right? There's good ones and bad ones, and occasionally you'll get that gun counter commando, and they'll tell you what they think and what you need to do, and it doesn't always sit well.
Yeah. Honey Bunches says, "What do you think of NRAM? And do you think events including SHOT are necessary after having to work around it during the pandemic? At least NRAM includes regular peeps." Good question. Good question.
Yeah, that's a good point. So for everyone that doesn't know, Shot Show is a very industry specific event. You either have to be an FFL, a purchase approved agent from a law enforcement agency, a member of the press, or a manufacturer. There's probably some other categories where you can get in, but that's it. The general public is not allowed into Shot Show, and that's amazing when you consider that there are potentially as many as 80,000 people at one
Bananas.
enormous event. And you saw it, man. I mean, it was crazy. Um, I will say that based upon my experience pre-pandemic, the numbers were not nearly as much as I'm used to. But I understand that based upon last year to this year, it's gotten there were more. There were more.
Did you go last year?
I did not.
Last year was fantastic.
There weren't
It
that many
was
people, right?
there was no box people with the little carts. It was
Right, right.
it was you could do interviews. There was I mean literally what I don't understand, and you'll agree, people when they at SHOT Show, they're like, "Hey, let's have a conversation. Maybe we should go over here." No, they stop in the middle of the aisle and they have a conversation.
Mhm.
And I'm slightly husky, and I'm like, "Can you move, please? I'm not zigzagging through this." It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
terrible. So this year wasn't so bad either. I liked it. I did trip
No, it
over
was
a
good.
cart.
It was good. I mean, there were two major changes for me, from my perspective. I don't know that there were as many people, certainly not as much as pre-pandemic, because I remember the aisles being crowded. Like you could not get down the aisle because at an intersection there would be knots of people, and it would be difficult for you to just get from one point to another. The slightly diminished amount of people combined with the opening into the Caesars Forum, I think created a much better experience overall. But
Yeah, they put a lot of good companies over there. I know they put Savior Equipment over there. Sky was over there. So it's
yeah, a lot of
I think now this is a rumor I heard. I heard that's why SIG backed out because they wanted to put SIG in Caesar's Forum last year, and they told them to pound sand, and they're like, "Fine, we're just not going."
that's interesting. Yeah, and I kind of wonder what that will bode ultimately for Shop Show in the future. But getting back to the question about NRAM, um, NRAM is a different experience than Shot Show. Have you been to that one?
Yeah, they had one in Houston last year. It was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So that is a very different experience because basically any NRA member can go. So the shooting motoring public can show up in mass, and they will wander through all of the different displays and booths. And you're also able to have commerce. At SHOT Show, there is no commerce. You will not be buying anything from the various manufacturers that are there represented at the booth. Whereas at NRAM, you can make purchases, and you're also having to navigate or circumnavigate the general public, which can make it a little more challenging for content creators to get the stuff that they need to do.
And there's some beautiful protesters across the street usually.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome, guys.
I took my kids last year to the second day, and when the protesters were out there going crazy, I took them outside and I let them watch these crazy people scream and yell and throw stuff and just get nuts. And they're like, "What are they doing?" I go, "They have every right to do that.
That's
We
America.
live in America. They can be as crazy as they want to be as long as they don't hurt anybody." And they're yelling. And remember, I had kids. There's a lot of little kids there, and they're screaming profanity. I'm like, "Come on, guys, really?"
Right, right.
But it's a valuable lesson. They got to look at crazy protesters up close, and I'm
Yeah,
like, hey, they have every right to do that. Good for them. My daughter, she was 8. She was more interested in the horses, the mounted police,
yeah,
than the protesters. But it was a
yeah.
very good lesson. But I
Oh, for
love it.
sure.
NRA show is fantastic. I'm not going to miss it. I think where's it now? Indianapolis.
Yes, Indianapolis is the next one.
Yeah, I should probably book that pretty quick.
Yeah, wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, let's see. Watching protesters was fun. It was. What was really fun is you had people like Black Rambo. go across the street, talk to him, and get him on film. And that they didn't know what to make of that guy. This crazy dreadlock pro gun black guy over there, and they're like, all the they couldn't say anything to him.
Right.
It was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. So, media day before SHOT Show, did you go?
Yeah.
Now, do you think that's worth it? Because I've always skipped it. Because I don't know if it can you really film like Classic Firearms does a great job, but even their videos are tough. It's tough.
It's yes. So to answer your question specifically, yes, I think it's worth it. And you got to remember that because some companies aren't doing that media day, they're doing their own events. We were there the day before, and we actually went to a Beretta event in the morning, and then we went to a SIG event in the afternoon. And so we were able to try out different products from both of those companies and kind of see a preview of what they were up to, and then go on to media day the next day and sift through. Now, again, it's going to be one of those situations where you're not going to interview someone. You're not going to, because there's going to be 15 people standing next to you in a stall, basically, firing guns. And so you're not going to have a meaningful interaction. But, you can stand there and shoot that Luago alien and empty a magazine and collect some sexy B-roll, man. That flat shooting thing. So that, as long as you taper your content to what's palatable, I think that's okay. But
Okay,
it's
that's fair.
not. It's not you're not going to go there and come out with 5 great videos that you'll be able to run later on. But it's a good place to try out the guns and see what you like, collect business cards, and say, oh, hey, I want to try this out later. I'm going to request a T&E when I get back home.
All right, you sold me. So apparently Sean's a very good salesman, folks. He's very good. So out of every booth at SHOT Show, which one surprised you the most? Which booth were you like randomly walked into, you weren't expecting, and then they kind of just blew you away with something cool? Anything stick out?
No.
Very honest. Very honest.
No. I mean, I don't mean any disdain on any company because of that, but there wasn't anything like completely crazy that blew me away. Magpul had some really cool products this year. Their new DACA grid organizer, man, I love that. I think that was very cool. But we did an article on some of the coolest guns and some of the coolest accessories, and that definitely made it into the accessories. There were a few products out there, like the new 2311, the new shotgun from Beretta.
Oh yeah.
There's a few out there that were really kind of cool, but nothing like blew me away. You kind of get jaded after a while, and it gets harder to impress you, I think. How about you, man? Let me turn that question back on you.
The nicest thing that I saw was at this little booth downstairs, and it wasn't even a gun; it was a knife by Acaso Knives. It's a new knife company that started up, and I already ordered one. And it's pricey, and I'm not a knife person, but it was such a sexy carbon fiber steel. I mean, it's made for like a business suit. Like if you're wearing a nice suit, it's sexy. It's so lightweight.
All right.
It's not made for like chopping down branches, but it is a sexy knife. And I got a carbon fiber deal when I ordered it. I'll have it, and I'm going to do a knife review. I don't know if I should do a separate channel for that or keep it on my regular channel, because I think guns and knives kind of go together.
Oh, they absolutely do. They absolutely do.
But man, so I'm walking by and I pick up this knife just to check it out, and it was so light, and I really looked at it. I was like, wow, I was mind blown about how nice it was. So I'm like, I got to get one. I don't care. I'll buy it. How much? It's something like, you name your price. I want this knife. And I ordered it when I got home. But as far as guns, let's see. Um, Not really. I think Taurus having optics ready revolver was kind of cool. I've never seen a
No,
optic
that's
ready.
cool. Yeah, Caleb and Cody over at Taurus, they're leading the rush on
Yeah,
bringing that up, and I knew that was coming, but I'm stoked that those two guys are kind of help bringing that forward. I dig the 5.7 from Smith. I think that was kind of cool too.
yeah. Even
So
Rock Island with the RIA 5.0 with the square
yeah,
barrel.
yes, yeah,
Everyone's knocking it,
that
but
was
I
good.
thought it looked kind of cool. It felt good in the hand. I'll shoot it.
Yeah, yeah.
The trigger's a little wonky, but yeah,
You know, one of the things that is most interesting about a shot is the dungeon, is what I call it, and that's what some of the other folks that I've worked with call it. And it's just that lower level basement area where you go down, and it's the small booths, right? It's the people that don't have $250,000 to spend on a major booth on a 4 or 5 day spiel, right? It's the smaller companies that are just trying to get a foothold in the industry. And man, there are some cool things down there. You never know what you're going to run into, what you're going to find down there.
oh, Gort has some good news. Hotels in Indy for April's NRAM are almost completely sold out.
That's why I was suggesting or supporting your suggestion of going and checking it out because they book up quick, man.
Man, well, in Houston, you could book last minute, and there's tons of hotels. I need to find a subscriber that lives out there. Does anybody live in Indianapolis? I don't eat much. I know that your eyes probably don't believe that statement, but I don't. I'm just gonna just sleep on someone's couch.
There you go. Yeah, that's all
I'll
good.
take you to NRA with me. I just need a place to stay. I'll get a sign
Okay.
outside. So, is there anything that you saw that was disappointing, where you're like, eh, that was ho hum? There, let's say ho hum. Disappointing is kind of harsh. Let's just say, is there anything you saw up close that was like, yeah,
Yeah, I don't really know that there was anything disappointing or even ho hum. There were a lot of different products that, um, they're kind of like Me Too products. Like, oh, this happened, somebody else did this, so we're going to do this also. And so innovation gets harder and harder, I think. And it's because someone will see something that someone else does and they'll try to one up them, right? Because there's two kinds of inventions. There's something that's completely brand new, and there's an improvement on an existing product. And we haven't really seen anything completely brand new in a long time. The old saying, "There's nothing new under the sun," is always applicable, but there are definitely some products that are improvements on other existing lines. So, but I didn't see anything that was just like ho hum. Just nothing that really like blew me away.
right? God, who was that company's name? Olympus Arms. Did you see that gun where the barrel kind of slides back? Is the whole action?
No, I don't think I saw that.
It's bananas. I walked by and I guess there's no buffer tube or anything because the barrel actually slides back. I don't know how it works, man, but it looked really cool. I'm sure
Okay.
if you YouTube it, someone did a video on it. I was running late, so as I was walking by the booth, he was doing a video. I think he was doing a video with what channel is that? With Clint from what you call it? Having a brain fart.
Like
Collector.
shot barrels.
Yeah. So the way the gun works, you shoot it. Now it's supposed to be like almost zero recoil because the whole barrel kind of goes back. It looked pretty cool,
Okay.
but I think the AR market is dying. I don't know if you think so. I think it's just so saturated right now.
It is extremely saturated, but I don't think it's dying. I think There's ample support for it. And so now what you're going to see is, people delving into a lot of differences, um, finding little niche areas where they can really delve in and change things. And that's going to be cool. I think that's going to be cool.
All right. In Crew says it's the reciprocating AR-10. Yes, that's what it was. It was an AR-10.
Okay.
Very cool looking gun. And Classic Farms. Yeah, it was Clint from Classic Farms. God, how could I forget that?
Pretty big
What a
fan.
maroon. Any suppressors you guys are excited about?
I'll say this: we had some experience with the sound guard from Daniel Defense, and we all know Daniel Defense for their AR-15s. And recently, a few years ago, they kind of broke the mold with the Delta 5, stepping out of their normal lane and doing the bolt gun. And now they just came out with a suppressor, and it's a cool system. My experience in law enforcement, I saw a lot of shooters that weren't washing their hands after they would shoot, and then they'd go out and have lunch. And so the indices of cancer, um, anywhere from the mouth all the way down to where everything comes out, started to increase. And so the agency had to stop and take a look at that. And when they finally figured out, hey man, these guys are shooting, and then all the lead and everything else that gets on their hands uh, is being ingested and causing them various forms of cancer. We had to take a look at that and try to stop that. So along those same lines, there's been a huge push in law enforcement, but a lot of the military too, to move to suppress shooting. And while that's great for your hearing, while that's great for situational awareness, it's not always good for what you're breathing in,
Yeah.
because if you've got a gassy gun and you're suppressing it down and it sounds great, you're still breathing in that, especially with shorter barrels where the action's up close and you're practically on top of it. You're breathing all of that in. So I think the special forces community was starting to see higher indices of cancer and ingestion from all of the fumes. So Daniel Defense said, okay, what can we do about this? And they developed the sound guard as a result of that. It's a suppressor. It knocks the sound down significantly, but the main objective is to continue to dispel those gases in a fashion that doesn't make it long term bad for the end user.
Right. A friend of mine has an MP5 suppressed, and I love shooting it, but man, 6 shots in, you can't breathe.
And you got to think about that long term. If you're out at a range day and you're shooting your buddy's gun, that's one thing. But if you're a professional shooter and you're in a shoot house at least once a month, and maybe you're qualifying or you're going through training, man, that's going to add up. That's going to add up. So it's going to be tough. But I'm impressed with the sound guard because, like I said, the noise mitigation was good, but I'm really excited about the ability to kind of keep those gases out of my lungs. And they also have screws on the end where you can plug the holes and route the gases even further.
Oh,
So if
wow.
you've got an application where you have a lot of vertical rise after you shoot, you can plug the bottom holes and vent those gases out of the top of the suppressor to help keep your muzzle rise down. There's maybe scenarios where you're up against a wall and you don't want that much back pressure, so you can adjust it by changing your set screws. So kind of a cool system.
Very cool. Putano says the Radical Defense suppressors look cool. Radical Firearms is a Texas company, so I absolutely love them. And
Mhm.
I picked up their patrol rifle version, and I was shooting it, and I've shot a ton of ARs, maybe 25, 30, over the last couple years. This one feels different, man, because when you shoot this one, it feels like it's one solid piece. I mean, it feels really good, and it's not as expensive as it should be, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, I really like this a lot. It reminds me of like a DDM4,
Yeah.
and it
Dude,
feels so good. And I think it's a grand.
yeah, Radical is a really good value, and I'm fortunate to have been kind of clued into them several years ago. I wrote an article for Police One, and I reviewed their RF-15. They had a Blue Line series that they were doing for law enforcement, and I went over to Sweetwater, went to their facility, and kind of an interesting tie-in. But one of their lead gunsmiths, Bubba, he went to gunsmithing school where I went to the police academy. There were big difference in years between those dates, but it was just kind of a cool connection in Trinidad, Colorado. And I watched him build that gun, and we went into the range and blew 500 rounds through it just to test it out before we even put any oil on it. And I've had that for years, and it has been a solid performer, man. It has just been a really good gun, and they have picked up an enormous amount of contracts for militaries in, I think, Central to South America. So their amount of funding and research that they've been able to do, and of course, tooling up, has leveled up their game. And yet they're still keeping their prices down really reasonable. So they represent a really good value.
Yeah, I did a whole tour of their facility in a video, and man, it was so cool to go see how it was made. They make a lot of stuff in-house. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, even barrels,
90,
like a lot of
95.
people outsource barrels and bolt carrier groups. I mean, that's two of the big ones, but no, they do their stuff in house, man. It's cool.
Yeah, great company, solid people.
Yeah,
In Cruz says he looked up Soundguard on YouTube. Pew Pew was the first video about it. Look at that. I was so proud that my video on PSA was #1 on Google search.
that's awesome, man.
Dude, that's the first time I've had a breakout video like that.
Good for you.
So excited.
Good for
And
you.
I filmed it cell phone. It's so funny. I had a bunch of people with their, they went and bought real expensive stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't think, like, you're a videographer. If you give him an iPhone 5, I guarantee you he could knock out a great video with that iPhone 5. It's the individual in your eye.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, it's framing and lighting. That is an enormous amount of
yes.
it. And then the ideas behind it. What are you trying to portray to your audience? So you're absolutely right. And
And you got to
even
tell like a story, some kind of story to keep them interested. And lighting is huge. Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything for looks. Or I would be flooded with lights right now.
yeah, yeah, man. I always say that I have a face for radio. So, but I fell in front of the camera, and that's what they got me doing. So here
And
I
I got
am.
a face for blindness. I get a job working at the Braille Institute. It'd be
There you go.
sweet.
There you go.
So what are you looking forward to most this year in the gun industry? 2023 just started. We just had SHOT Show. Do you think anything new is coming out for NRA, or are you not allowed to say?
I do know about a couple of things that I can't talk about because I'm contractually obligated
Ah,
to. But
bummer.
and I'm excited. There's going to be some cool stuff. Uh, but I don't get so hung up on products anymore as I do about training. And that for me is something that in my own personal journey with firearms and life in general, I think I love to train. And if it's a week long, if it's 2 weeks long, if it's raining, if it sucks, if you're doing without the creature comforts and the food that you love, and maybe it's not warm or maybe it's really hot, uh, you know, all of those things kind of compel me to push myself. and learn and improve my skill sets because ultimately, whether you have a Ruger, whether you have a Hodge defense, it doesn't really matter. It's the trigger puller that is
Right.
going to be the difference in any scenario. And so training is the shit, man. That's the truth. That's where it's at.
Never taken a class yet. Besides a basic pistol course, I took a basic pistol course.
So you set yourself up for that. And happy to connect you with some folks after we get done with this. But try to get to gun sight. Try to get to a reputable school, and treat yourself to that experience and see how it changes you because there's a number of things that will be a benefit to you. One is you'll ultimately look better when you're using a firearm.
I don't know. I don't know.
It'll
Well,
happen.
we'll cross that bridge.
Trust me, it'll happen. Tactical Performance Center. I can't say enough about. There is a video that we launched just tonight on Instagram and YouTube that is me shooting a 30 round magazine through a Glock 18. And
The full
because,
auto.
yeah, yeah,
Very nice video. I saw it.
thank you. And because I have been to Tactical Performance Centers handgun mastery course, which was a week long course that basically focused mostly on grip, I was able to hold that pistol and dump those 30 rounds and hit the target. And not people have this. I don't know that it's a misconception because I think if you took an average shooter and you put a Glock 18 in their hands, yeah, you'd probably paint the side of a mountain with it. But with the proper training, you can do some pretty impressive things. And I'm an okay shooter. I'm not amazing. I'm not a competitive shooter, but but man, yeah, good training will give you not only the performance, but it also changes your perspective on firearms and what you're doing with them. So when you look at the features that they present to the average shooter, you can say, "Oh, well, this is good because of X, Y, Z." Or if you're in this type of situation, bump, 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 bump,
Yeah.
and that provides more value to the folks who are looking at our content.
Yeah. I mean, up until 2 years ago, I don't pretend to be an expert in guns at all. I learned along with everyone else. Because I'm still kind of new. But I would go shoot with my buddy Mike. And the first time we went shooting, he's up there drilling holes out, and I would put the silhouette target and just try and hit it all within the 8. And I didn't realize how much ammo I was wasting because I would just burn through a couple boxes and go home every time. I never really thought about what I was doing. And now I can drill them with
Yeah, yeah.
so it's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's awesome, man, and I love hearing that evolution. When I came on board and I did my first video for Pew Pew, I was at a pretty big event with a major company, and there were several YouTubers there, and we got on the line, and of course, being a firearms instructor for law enforcement, I have a certain level of firearms proficiency, and I'm very used to that regimented training and we zeroed our pistols, and my group was touching, and there were a lot of YouTubers up and down the line that had somewhat like a shotgun looking target. And hey, man, look, I'm not making fun of that because no one is instantly good at anything, right? Especially a physical skill like that. We all start somewhere. There was a time when I was not very good with firearms, and it's taken me years of practice to get where I am. So not disdaining anybody for their level of performance, but it told me something about content creators. We're not all the same. People are at different levels in their firearms journey, and it's kind of funny to see that.
Do you know who the best YouTube shooters are? The best editors.
I don't, I don't know. I've spent some time with like Hop at the Firearms blog. He's a good shooter. Um, I'll tell you that in the event that I'm talking about, there was a competition that was brought up, and I did well in that competition. I got to the end of the, like 20 people, and was just first to steal at like 10 or 12 yards, something like that. And then the skinny kid that I didn't know was standing there next to me, and uh, the timer blew, and I remember coming out as fast as I could because I figured, man, this kid's got to be fast, because he's beating everybody else. It was a process of elimination. And I remember that slow feeling as I was standing, and he'd already rung steel. My draw was the same as his. Like, we pulled it back in the video and watched it. My draw was the same as his, but he was breaking that shot. He was on. He had his sight picture established and broke the shot that much quicker than me, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even a competition at that point because I was running as fast as I possibly could, and so my accuracy. I mean, there's that inverse correlation between, okay, I'm going to go as fast as I can, but my accuracy is going to be down here. That you're going to have that inverse correlation. And this kid was Timothy Yackley, and I didn't know that at the time, but he was a world champion. He'd beaten Jerry Miculek.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't feel so bad then. You're like, well,
but yeah, exactly. I didn't feel so bad about that. But yeah, I mean, there's some really good shooters out there.
So I was at IV88 and I met Such, right? And I was like, hey, it's nice to meet you. And then I should have shut up. And then I go, hey, Such, you start all your videos shooting, but I don't hear any dings. Are you actually shooting at a target? Oh, man. He goes, you look here, Sonny. I've been shooting longer than you've been alive. And I was like, I'm just kidding. We ended up having lunch after that. But I was like, man, I should really, what a terrible way to introduce yourself to somebody.
You know what, though? Don is such a good dude.
He's funny.
I've known him for years, and I absolutely love that man. He is such a good dude. We've been on a couple of events together and spent some time together. And he's a genuinely good guy. I mean, there's the difference that you will find sometimes with people who are their YouTube persona, and then there are people that are putting out who they are on YouTube. And Don is one of those guys. He's just a good guy.
Yeah, I have to dial it back.
Dial it up?
I have to dial it back, actually. I don't think anybody would talk to me if they heard what's rattling around in here. Yeah, no friends.
Yeah, I hear you.
Honey Bunch, it says, does Gunsight or TPC travel around a lot?
Yes. So Gunsight does have not correspondence, but they have they will do trainings at specific gun ranges across the country. You have to go to their website to see their schedule. And I know for a fact that TPC also travels because the class that I attend, they're based in Utah, which I've gone there, and I took a rifle carbine course, and amazing time. But the handgun mastery course that I took was down in San Antonio, actually, which obviously very close to both of us. So that was handy. That was a lot easier. It's such a challenge because you weigh, okay, I gotta get a hotel, I gotta travel, I've got to think about my food, and then I've got to pay for usually anywhere from 900 to 1,200 rounds for a week-long course. So you got to add all that in together, and the closer it is to you, obviously, the easier it is to press the trigger.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if it was in Houston, I might be able to. What is the average price for like a 3-day? Do you think it's okay to take a 1-day course, or should you really try and take multiple days?
Man, I would encourage you to take a full week-long course. I know that's a commitment.
A week?
It's going to change your life.
A week away from my wife and children. Yep. That sounds terrible.
Yep.
Where do I sign up? I'm kidding.
I'm sure that it would be a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But you need to keep your wife and children in mind when you think about how much better of a shooter you'll be when you come back from a good quality course.
Yeah, I tried to get Carry Trainer to come down here and do a class. Mickey,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I I love his videos, and
Oh yeah,
I dig his stuff, and I think he does a 3-day course. It's pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, I think, it really kind of depends where you're at, but any good 3 to 5 day course, like a basic course, I'd even gone, like I said, I was a law enforcement instructor, and the first time I went to gun sight, I was just, wow, okay, yeah, different philosophy. They covered everything from um, drawing from the holster, sight alignment, basic fundamentals, your 7 fundamentals, and then shooting drills, shooting competition. There's a course called the Donga where you actually move through physical terrain. It's a wash, an arroyo basically, and you have targets and you have to engage from cover, and you're moving up and down, you're popping in and out. They will run you through a house shoot where you go in and you have to clear a house and address targets both in and out of the house. And for a lot of particularly civilian shooters, that's not an experience that you're going to get almost anywhere else unless you're in law enforcement. So it's definitely worthwhile.
I remember I wanted to. I played paintball with some young kids,
Mhm.
11 and 12. They destroyed me.
Oh
It was
yeah,
the most humbling. So one of them hit me so many times, I was on the ground. He goes, "You okay, mister?" I'm like, I will drop kick you, Johnny. Get away
yeah,
from me. I know you're dead. I don't care.
right.
Little brat. He goes, "I'm sorry." I'm like,
Yeah,
don't. You're God. His voice is all cracking. Are you
but
okay?
still, I mean, it's a physical skill, right? I mean, you've got a Gracie Barra sign on your wall behind you. I'm sure if you've taken much of that, you remember how humbling that was your first course. You kind of thought that you knew something, and then you
So
went in and quickly learned when even
yeah.
the youngest white belt was able to tie you into a pretzel.
Thank God I was so heavy.
Right.
I was 100 pounds more than this guy, and he was still whipping me.
Yeah.
So my kids go to Gracie Baja over here in Houston, and the head coach is a UFC fighter,
Cool.
and all the coaches there are real top notch. And
Yeah.
I remember my first day in class, he goes, make a grip as hard as you can, right, like this, and then like a baby, he just book pulls it apart because their grip strength is so strong.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, Alex, I'm not going to say it to his face, but on the way home, I thought about it. But it was I took it for about 4 months, and then I almost I broke my collarbone, so that's my excuse for not going back. But it was
Still,
rough. My
that
kids still do it.
that 4 months has put you head and shoulders above the average public out there. I mean, it is amazing how much elevated even a white belt is to just the average person out there, unless they've had wrestling or some other kind of
Right.
based combative. No, not even a chance to.
Yeah, I learned how to do the cankle lock.
There
It
you
was
go.
great. Fat
There you go.
jitsu.
The
No, I
king
love it.
slicer.
Yeah, right. They don't give you stripes. They give you like rings of donuts. It's fantastic.
It's okay as long as you keep coming back.
Nice. So you can't talk about what's coming up. Dang, that's a bummer. I was hoping to get something juicy out of you. So what do you think about let's end with the brace rule.
All right.
Let's call it. Do you think it's gonna go through, or do you think it'll get tied up in courts and we'll win?
So, and keep in mind my background. My last 7.5 years were at a prosecutor's office, so I'm very familiar with the courts and that whole world, working with attorneys. And so, to me, it was interesting that they came out with the brace ban when they did. Obviously, just before SHOT Show, dropping that out, kind of making a statement. It feels. Now, I don't have anything to substantiate this, and I'm not a
That's
conspiracy
totally
theorist.
fine. We don't go on facts. This isn't a news show.
This is just an opinion, but it feels a little politically motivated based upon current prevailing winds. But the precedent that rings in my mind, and remember, like I said, my court based background, the precedent that rings in my mind is, Trump came through and said, no more bump stocks. We're going to give bump stocks. They got to go. And so they made bump stocks go away. But then, that Supreme Court, they came back and they said, hey, Second Amendment. And they overturned that. So now you've got this precedent where an interpretation, basically an executive fiat that was executed by the former president, was overturned
Mhm.
in light of the Constitution, such as it is. And I think that might be applicable to this current situation. Now, it's going to take time until that plays out. But I think it'll be interesting to see. And I'm actually hopeful, based upon that precedent, that we'll get something that will work in our favor.
Yeah, it's funny. I had the opportunity to shoot a bump stock a couple years ago, and it's terrible. I hated it. I'd rather someone shoot me with the bump stock than without because it sucks. But
Yeah.
everyone should be able to own whatever they want to own.
Right.
Yeah,
And the thing is, when you look at the number of people who are involved in creating those decisions, so often, unfortunately, the people who are most vociferous about firearms are the ones who are the least knowledgeable about them. And that's an
100%.
unfortunate reality that we have to face. It kind of goes back to Pew Pew Tactical, and part of our broad appeal is in hopes to educate enough people about firearms and how fun they are that we have more support ultimately. It's like a hidden agenda, like, hey, come on in, we'll have some fun. And then the next thing you know, you're shooting an scary AR-15, and you're having a blast, and you realize, okay, yeah, it's not such a terrible thing. So I'm hopeful overall that that precedent will play out well.
Yeah. That, honestly, even in California, that was my thing, man. I love taking new shooters to the range. And look, I take them to the range to have a good time. And then I always tell them, like, look, point it in a safe direction. Let's have a good time. And then at the end of the day, did you have fun? Yes, great. Go get training.
Yep.
Go learn from someone that knows what they're doing. I'm not that guy. I'm the first timer. I pop the cherries and then send them off somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this weekend, I get to go shoot with my buddy and his daughter. Both have never touched a gun. And then next weekend, I get to take my new brother-in-law out from England. He just got his residency card here.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to take him shooting for the first time.
Nice.
He's never touched a rifle in his life, a
Oh,
BB gun.
awesome.
So that's my thing. I've taken probably about 100 people shooting.
Ah,
Some of them got really stuck to it. Some of them are like, it's just kind of not for me.
sure. Sure.
But
Yeah, I mean, that's a responsibility, man. I think, when you look at the lifeblood of our sport, of our recreation, of our culture, that is an absolute responsibility, and you have to hold that sacred, to take people out, not put a, a 50 cal in their hand for the first time. Take them out, let them have a fun experience. If you want to work up to big crazy calibers, great. But man, take people out and shoot a 22. Take them out and shoot something that's not going to be painful or loud or scary, and then let that sweet, sweet seduction happen, man. Because it will. If they're inclined toward it, it will absolutely come on, and then you can just set them loose, man, and just watch them go.
I despise those videos where they have a girl out there shooting like a 50 cal or a shotgun. I think that's the most asinine thing
It is,
ever,
yeah.
man.
It's a jackass move for sure.
100%. I hate it. I hate those videos. And look, when I used to take guys shooting, I'm like, look, it's my money, my range time, my rifle, my bullets. I'll take him shooting. We'll have a good time. But at the end, you got to shoot this shotgun 10 times in a row. Just for my own little sadistic thing. After they shoot it 5 times, then I show them how to hold it. And then, it's fun. It's fun. But I only do that to my best friends, my really good friends.
So you do subscribe to training as being a key element.
Yeah, I think everyone should take a pistol course or at least learn how to hold a pistol right. Like, look, I can teach you the very, very basics.
Sure.
But my job as a gun person to spread the gun faith is to just take new people that have never touched one and have a fun time. So we go to the gun range, we have a great time, we shoot all kinds of guns, and then we go eat afterwards. And I just make it a fun day. And usually they're so excited, they keep asking me like, "Oh, what should I get next?" And that's my favorite phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, you're proselytizing, right? You're like an apostle. You're out there showing them the way and saying, "Hey, this is cool. You can have a good experience." Like, oh, and by the way, you can defend yourself with this.
100%.
That's cool.
In stages. You got to do stages.
Yeah. You can't be the screaming guy that
you can't be Alex Jones all the time. Hey, he's from Austin. He's your neighbor.
Don't remind me.
What's scary about Alex Jones is when I was a crazy liberal in California, I mean, I was deep into it. I used to listen to him as a joke. And he was always talking about they take these people and put them on pedophile island and then da-da-da-da. And I'm like, this guy's a lunatic. And then, man, some of that stuff kind of true, which is really scary.
Yeah.
So, he's crazy, but I like him. He's completely wacko, but I really dig him.
He's definitely polarizing. I think you know where you stand with him one way or the other.
Yeah, entertainment-wise. Same thing with Trump. Very entertaining. Do I love him? Nah, not really.
Yeah.
Trump is Trump.
Yep, for sure.
It was just funny watching everyone's head explode. God, the reaction he would get on Twitter. It was so good. So good.
Yep. Painful for some and triumph for others.
I was totally on the sidelines for that whole thing. But Sean, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. And everyone in the chat, I really Fiden says, "Are you in Austin too? It's cold as balls right now. I lost power."
Yeah, bro. We had 3 days straight of freezing rain. And like I said, when I was 14, I moved to Colorado, so I got used to a lot of snow and a lot of cold. And coming down to Texas, it's been an adaptation, getting used to the hot again. But man, this super cold, freezing rain was bad. It broke
because it's really moist. Because the humidity makes it the worst.
There was at least 8 fatalities, multiple crashes, and it was interesting because a lot of people lost power too, and so we're still kind of recovering from that. It's been tough.
Man, yeah, down in Houston, it's not too cold right now. I think it's 40, 41.
Yeah, it missed you guys, but it got down to 32 pretty steady for, like I said, 3 days. And it just warmed up into the 40s today. I had trees break down on our trampoline, so I had to go out with a chainsaw and a ladder today and just cut some stuff loose. And I was cutting through about a quarter inch of ice before I even got to the wood.
I tell you what, people in Austin are so weird. I guarantee you they're still walking around in flip-flops and shorts.
They're riding scooters, bro.
They're riding their scooters. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. Everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much too. I'm going to put a link to his channel, Pew Pew Tactical.
Thank you guys.
Definitely subscribe to his channel. It is quality information and entertainment, all wrapped up in a tight little bow. Thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time.